last category of things that I want you to think about are updates to the materials that you have in your genealogical research materials. So do you want births and deaths, marriages, divorces? Do you want that information to be updated after you've stopped your research? Some people may want what they've done so far to just be, that's what you did, that's the body of your research, don't make any changes to it. Anyone who has interest in making those changes should get their own copy, for instance, and do their own research and make it live within their control. That may be one viewpoint you have on one extreme, and the other may be that maybe you want your steward to keep gathering that information as it's provided by your relatives. I'll give you a sneak peek to one of the future videos that's coming. One of the things that we're going to think about is what we want communicated to whom and under what circumstances. So this does what I call the forget-me-not letters, so that your steward has a boilerplate of a letter to send out on a periodic basis to your family saying, hey, this person is keeping our family history for me. If you have births, deaths, marriages, divorces, whatever, send them this information for each of those cases so that they can keep the tree updated until one of you decides to come and take this on. That's kind of the gist of what a forget-me-not letter is about. So that steward may be, if that's your wish, asking for those kinds of updates. So if they do, you need to understand and think about, so that you can provide them the information, what types of updates you will accept and under what circumstances. So you'll want to know things like, do you want to have corrections made to the information that you have in there? And do you want additions made, so those births, deaths, marriages, and divorces? And I think one of the most important things when you're considering this is to think about, for each one of those things, the proof standard for each of those. So a birth may be relatively easy for you, birth and death for that matter, and marriage. Your proof standard may be any relative that has one of those events happen or knows about them can get that change made in the family history that the steward is keeping by providing the certificate of that thing. So a birth certificate, death certificate, marriage certificate, and divorce papers, whatever. That may be your proof standard. And but you want to consider that, because you don't want the steward to be guessing under what circumstances you want changes or whether you want changes made. You need to capture all those ideas, and it's simple. It's a simple matter of saying, my family history GEDCOM or family history file, for that matter, can be changed under these circumstances. If there's a birth and a person provides a birth certificate, if there's a death and someone provides a death certificate, it can be that simple. But think about those things. What can be changed, added, or changed under what circumstances, by whom, those kinds of things. Think about those thoughts. It's a little bit stickier when you get to things that you've already determined that you think are facts, but someone else comes up with information that maybe refutes that. You're going to have to arm your steward with the knowledge of whether you want that information to be considered or not, and changed or not. And if you do want that to be considered and possibly changed, you've got to arm them with the proof standard so that they know how they are going to make that decision about whether that thing that you had as a fact gets changed or not. So let's talk about the actual steps that you need to take here. I've been telling you all along to take notes about these things, but what I want you to do, if you haven't already done so, or even if you have and you just need some more time, is set aside some time when you're not going to be interrupted to think about these things. Focus on the questions in the framework that I've provided, but let your mind go to those places that are connected, and jot those things down as well. You don't have to stay to viewing and duplicating and changing. You can, whatever thoughts that you have, this is the time that you want to capture those things about your wishes for your family history research materials. Capture those all, take notes, put them aside for later, because we're going to work on them later. But I'll tell you right now that in my experience, what you may find happens for you is that thoughts come to you unbidden about this in the days to come. So put those things aside, but put them where you can get to them so you can add thoughts as they come to you. You'll be driving somewhere or working on something else, perhaps even your family history, and think, oh yeah, I've got to think about this material that I didn't think about before. And you can just go update your notes, or just quickly make the note that you need to think about a certain thing, and then provide the quiet, uninterrupted time to think about that later. So you'll have time between videos, as much time as you need. You don't have to play the next one until you're ready. But to take down those notes, catch the things that come after this viewing and the information that you think about now, keep them all in the notes and put them aside. We're going to have a couple more videos where I have you think about other aspects of your wishes, and then at a future video I'll walk you through how to combine those simply into a material that is at a level of formality that you're comfortable with, that you're then going to use to share with a candidate steward, to show them what it is that you've put together and how you want the stewardship done, so that you can ask them to take on that role. And if they agree to take that role, that's the materials that they will be able to use at that point. You'll have it all ticked and tied, all tied up with a bow. Now, before I conclude, I want to thank you again for viewing this program. What you're doing with your family history research is very important, and it's also very important that you're taking steps to preserve it, to make it perennial. Thank you for doing this. Now again, what I've asked you to do in this video is to think about your wishes for access to your genealogical materials. Think about who, what, and circumstances around viewing your information, around duplicating your information, and around changing, updating your information. Take those notes, put them aside, and watch the future videos where you're going to make some more notes, and then we'll combine those into the documents that you'll use for stewards. There's a lot of background material you've got to make before you create anything very tangible. I understand that, I appreciate it, but bear with me. All of this foundation work is important. It's just like building a house. If you just go slap a house up with no foundation, it's not going to stand up for long. What we're trying to build is something that will be perennial, that will last for years and years and generations. So this is the foundation work. You're digging the hole and pouring the concrete and making a strong foundation for your genealogical history to live. If you have any questions or comments, you can share them here. You can also email me. My email is benfsayer@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter ID is benfsayer. But I do want to encourage you to leave comments and questions, and even maybe share what notes you've made here on this site, because other people who are following the program or considering it can see what you've done. And if they're following along, they may get ideas from you. And if they've shared, you may get ideas from them. It'll make your stewardship material stronger if you share what you've done. So I would appreciate it if you would leave questions and comments and materials that you've generated so far. It will help other people. And after all, I'm doing this to help all the genealogists out there who wish to participate. And I would appreciate it if you do the same.